Good morning. Just in the morning phase still. Hello. How are we all? It was funny because I actually went to go jump on and do a live on Wednesday, and the internet just would not cooperate at all. So I was like, okay, clearly said live is not going to happen on that day. Hopefully it cooperates this morning. So yeah, it's been a big week. Quite chaotic actually. I changed some work days around and so that I could go into the city on Tuesday and go to an event being run by a business there called Fuel. And that was quite fun, highly interactive learning, bit of networking and reconnaissance work being done on my behalf. So as a result of doing that on Tuesday, I then worked in the office on yesterday. So this is what happens when I switch my routine around. I'm like, what the hell, what day is it? But it was interesting on Wednesday because I was really feeling into for myself that I needed to rest and take a bit of a break. And it was funny because the only work thing that I was thinking that I would then get done, because I was actually listening, I was actually all right, I need to just chill and let whatever needs to happen. And it was funny because the one thing that I was going to get done on Wednesday was to do that Facebook Live, and the internet was just like, nope, you're not going to do it. So I've been reflecting on the idea of rest this week because my body's been definitely screaming out for that. And I'm very, very fortunate that I do have the capacity to listen in and pay attention to that. And it's interesting because I think from a society perspective, we don't really subscribe to the idea of rest. Yes, we allow it for weekends and public holidays, and when we take our annual leave, rest is definitely something that we allow and is socially acceptable. And I guess what I've become quite aware of the days that I do allow myself to rest and not have to plow through a million things on my to-do list is quite often in the past. There's this sensation of guilt, this feeling of, well, hang on, I shouldn't just be sitting here resting, reflecting, sitting in the sun. I've got a million things to do. Go get on with it. So there's always been that little niggling voice. And I'm like, well, hang on, where's that come from? Like, my body here, particularly this week, has been screaming at me to rest. And I've really paid homage to that without the whole beating up or the guilt or the concern. It's like, well, the things that I'm not going to get done as a result of me resting and allowing my body to relax, they'll get done next week. No one's going to die because I don't get a few things done off my to-do list this week. So yeah, it's just interesting where that comes from. And as I said, from a society perspective, I don't think we really, it's just not a thing. It's just not a thing. And as I said, I'm very grateful that I do have a bit of flexibility in my schedule to allow for that. And so then I was like, okay, cool. So the fact that I'm not feeling guilty or beating myself up about going slower is that there are some really, really cool consequences for me that come out of resting. So first of all, and I think I've talked about this before, is just the creativity and the ideas that open up when I'm not actually sitting there doing the things that need to get done. And I've had, as a result of sort of taking a bit of time out, is that some more creative ideas, some things that I can then bring back and apply in my business have come through and help shape how things are going to move forward for me. So if I didn't take that time out, then those ideas wouldn't have the opportunity to come through, or I wouldn't have the opportunity to sort of, if they did come through, even reflect and then expand on them and, give them opportunities. So that's been really, really fantastic. And so, it just supports the idea, well, hang on, this is actually a good thing for me on so many levels. The other thing that sort of happens, has happened for me when I do take these opportunities, is there's like this little inner whisper, this little inner voice, and whatever name you personally might give your little inner whisper voice, whether it's intuition, whether it's spirit, I'm sure there's a few other names. I'd love to hear what names you give your little inner voice. I call mine my intuitive whisper. And by slowing down, by stopping, by not constantly moving on to what next, is that I slow down enough to actually hear that little whisper, these little internal checks. I'm just trying to think of an example. An example of my little intuitive whisper that'll say, like I go, I feel like calling someone. And that little whisper will go, no, not now. And no logical reason, okay? And then maybe I'll check in an hour later and the little voice goes, yeah, cool. Go make that call. And I must admit, this little intuitive whisper is only something that's sort of come to my awareness or my attention of recent. And so to actually do those check-ins and go, is this the right time to do X? And actually ask that question and then wait to hear what the intuitive whisper response is. What I have found on the odd occasion where I have ignored the advice of said internal whisper, more often than not, I go on to regret having not paid attention. So in the instances that I've sort of tested out, not consciously, but just gone, no, this has to happen now. I have to have this conversation now. I quite often go, maybe I should have listened. Maybe I should have paid attention there. So it's interesting. So I guess it's just playing with the idea of slowing down, resting, recuperating, creating space, and then in doing so, seeing what creating that space opens up for myself. And as I said, there's just a couple of the little observations that I have noticed just in the day and a half this week, where I have sort of chosen to go slow and not do as much. So I'm sure if okay, so I do have an idea for a future experiment that I'm going to do, and it's the idea of, go somewhere kind of remote, not have any technology around, so no TV, phones, for a few days, and really open up and create like a few days dedicated space and just see what sort of comes from that. I suspect there'll be a fair bit of internal resistance. In fact, there will be, because otherwise I would have given that experiment a go already. So we'll have to see when we can schedule that one in. I sort of put in the topic header as well, spaces in between the words. I haven't really touched on that specifically. I'm going to save that for another time. That was a little message that came through in the last few days as well. However, it's kind of outside of what I've already talked about this morning. So, yeah, as I said, it's been a big week. I mentioned that event that I went to on Tuesday. I also went to a very good friend's book launch last night down on the peninsula. And I got to say, first of all, it was just lovely supporting a good friend who's just released his first book. And that's just awesome. Like, I've just seen it's inspiring seeing people actually do what they're here to do and actually put into action the things that we often say that we're going to do. I know a lot of people that have said that they're going to write books. I've got it on my maybe potential to-do list in the future, but I haven't committed to that one. Thanks, James. Yeah, so that was just really cool. And then the other thing that I got out of last night's event, it was really well run. It was by I think a group called Turning Pages, because there was a group of authors all releasing their books. It was just this real big sense of community and support within that community, and it was just really well done. There were the people, the authors that have written their books. There were the people like myself there supporting various people who are releasing their books, and then there was also sponsors as well. So businesses that had financially contributed to the running of the event. And it was really, really lovely. Yeah, it sort of helped me reflect on how important those sort of events are for our communities. And getting involved in those sort of things. So yeah, so as I said, it's been a big week. I've sort of gone through a fair bit of my own personal growth again over the last couple of weeks, and that's continuing into something that I've got on this afternoon. So what I like to do is sort of, either focus on these growth tasks. So there was a event that I went to, a coaching session, and the thing I put on this afternoon is sort of have these times where I grow, so expand, learn more about myself, clear off, get rid of a bit of stuff that's not serving me in the process, and then have a period of time where I then just deliberately don't do growth sort of activities and just let life sort of play out. And that way I get to really observe what the results are that I get from doing things like coaching for myself and I get to really measure and gauge the results that get reflected back in my life. So that's really cool. Hi, Monique. The other thing that I've had in the last week was my 20-year high school reunion up in Wodonga. That was really cool. I did do the 10-year one, which was obviously 10 years ago. For me personally, a truckload has happened in 10 years. Like, there's just no way looking back that I could have had any idea of what things were in the last 10 years. And it was just lovely because I think the big thing that I sort of noticed from the 10-year to the 20-year is just how much I think people had matured. Not from a sense of, going out and partying and drinking, because there's certainly a lot of that going on Saturday night, but just the conversations that were being had, and definitely that was reflected in the event as well. All right, so I'm going to go chill out, keep up with my rest, and look at my to-do list and things that I'm going to sort of hit the ground running with next week. So thank you for listening, and have a fabulous week. I don't know what the weather's doing. It has not been nice. The sun has been out this morning, so I've been making the most of that. So, all right, enjoy. Thanks for the hearts, guys. All right. With heart and soul. Bye.